Imagine reaching into your pocket at the end of a long day and pulling out an ordinary-looking quarter. Its edges are worn, the surface is dull, and at first glance it seems no different from the countless coins that pass through millions of hands every day. Most people would spend it without hesitation, never imagining that a simple coin could carry a remarkable story stretching across centuries of American history. Yet the 2000 New Hampshire state quarter is far more than a piece of everyday change. It represents the spirit of freedom, the memory of a vanished natural wonder, and one of the most memorable designs ever created for the United States Mint's famous 50-state quarters program. While most examples are worth only face value, the history behind this coin has fascinated collectors around the world and turned an ordinary quarter into a lasting symbol of American heritage. To understand why this quarter exists, we have to travel back to the late 1990s, when the United States Mint launched one of the most successful coin programs in its history. Instead of issuing identical quarters year after year, the Mint decided to honor every state with a unique reverse design celebrating its history, culture, or natural beauty. Beginning in 1999, millions of Americans started searching their pocket change for every new release. Children filled colorful albums, families exchanged coins during vacations, and collectors eagerly waited for each state's design. By the year 2000, New Hampshire's turn had arrived, bringing with it an image that represented far more than scenery. It represented identity, resilience, and pride. The reverse of the New Hampshire quarter features the legendary Old Man of the Mountain, a naturally formed granite profile that stood high above Franconia Notch for centuries. Travelers from around the world visited New Hampshire just to witness the remarkable illusion created by 5 massive granite ledges that perfectly resembled the face of an elderly man looking toward the horizon. Generations grew up considering the formation a symbol of endurance and independence. Its image appeared on official documents, souvenirs, road signs, and eventually on the state quarter itself, ensuring that even after the natural formation collapsed in 2003, its memory would continue living in millions of coins circulating throughout the nation. Beneath the mountain portrait appears the powerful phrase, "Live free or die." These words were written by Revolutionary War General John Stark in 1809, when poor health prevented him from attending a reunion of former soldiers. His message included the now famous declaration that freedom was worth every sacrifice. Over time, the phrase became New Hampshire's official motto and one of the most recognizable expressions of American independence. Every New Hampshire quarter carries that message, reminding people that coins often preserve ideas and history just as effectively as monuments or museums. Turn the coin over and another familiar face appears, George Washington, the first President of the United States. Washington's portrait has appeared on American quarters since 1932, replacing the earlier Standing Liberty design. Around the portrait are the inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and Quarter Dollar. Although billions of Washington quarters have been produced, collectors understand that small details such as the year, mint mark, preservation, and production quality can make one coin more desirable than another. Those tiny differences are often invisible to casual observers, but become fascinating to experienced numismatists. One of the first details collectors notice is the small mint mark near the date. A D indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, while a P identifies the Philadelphia Mint. Many newcomers mistakenly assume every coin carrying a Denver Mint mark is automatically valuable. In reality, the mint mark simply identifies where the coin was produced. What determines value is a combination of rarity, condition, collector demand, and whether the coin possesses genuine minting characteristics that separate it from ordinary examples. The mint mark is an important clue, but it is only one part of a much larger story. When people hear stories about valuable quarters, excitement often spreads quickly. Headlines claiming that an ordinary-looking coin is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars attract enormous attention. While a few genuinely rare coins have achieved extraordinary auction prices because of exceptional rarity, historical significance, or unique minting errors, most circulating New Hampshire quarters remain worth 25 cents. The real excitement of collecting lies not in believing every coin is a hidden fortune, but in learning how to recognize the uncommon examples that truly deserve closer examination. Another fascinating part of this coin story is its connection to the disappearance of the Old Man of the Mountain itself. In May 2003, after centuries of surviving harsh winters, freezing temperatures, storms, and natural erosion, the famous rock profile collapsed. Residents across New Hampshire mourned the loss of a landmark that had become part of the state's identity. Ironically, the state quarter had been released only a few years earlier, preserving the image forever. Today, every New Hampshire quarter serves as a miniature memorial to a natural wonder that no longer exists, giving the coin emotional significance beyond its monetary value. Collectors often search for coins that remain in exceptional condition. A quarter that has spent decades circulating through stores, vending machines, and cash registers will naturally show scratches, worn details, and faded luster. By contrast, coins carefully preserved from the day they were issued may retain their original brilliance and sharp design. Professional grading services evaluate these qualities using internationally recognized standards, and coins receiving the highest grades often become much more desirable to advanced collectors. This explains why two coins struck on the same day can have dramatically different market values depending on how well they have been preserved. The New Hampshire quarter also reminds us that coins are more than tools for commerce. They are miniature historical documents that travel from one generation to another, silently carrying stories of presidents, artists, natural landmarks, national ideals, and technological achievement. Every scratch, every date, every mint mark, and every design element contributes to the larger narrative of American coinage. Whether discovered inside an old family collection, inherited from a grandparent, or found unexpectedly in everyday change, each coin invites us to ask where it has been and what history it has witnessed along the way. In the next chapter, we will explore how the Washington Quarter evolved over the decades, how genuine mint eras can transform ordinary coins into prized collectibles, and why careful observation remains the collector's greatest skill. As the popularity of the Washington Quarter continued to grow, few people realized that every coin leaving the United States Mint carried a unique journey before it ever reached someone's pocket. Long before a quarter is placed into circulation, artists spend months refining every detail of the design. Engineers create hardened steel dies capable of striking millions of coins, and massive presses operating under tremendous pressure transform plain metal blanks into finished currency within fractions of a second. The process appears simple, yet even the smallest variation during production can leave behind unusual characteristics that later capture the attention of collectors. These tiny differences are one reason why millions of ordinary coins exist alongside a much smaller number that become genuinely collectible over time. 2000 New Hampshire Quarter belongs to the famous 50-State Quarters program, a series that changed American coin collecting forever. Before its release, many people rarely paid attention to the quarters in their pockets. Once each state began receiving its own unique design, searching through change became a nationwide hobby. Children competed to complete albums, grandparents saved fresh rolls directly from local banks, and families traded duplicates during holidays and vacations. The excitement was not simply about owning 25 cents worth of metal. It was about preserving a small piece of American history before it disappeared into everyday circulation and gradually became harder to find in pristine condition. Among collectors, condition often becomes the deciding factor between an ordinary coin and a remarkable one. Imagine two identical New Hampshire quarters struck only seconds apart. One enters circulation immediately, passing through thousands of hands, sliding across store counters, and rattling inside countless pockets for years. The second is carefully stored in its original mint packaging and protected from scratches, fingerprints, and wear. Decades later, although both coins share the same design and date, the untouched example usually attracts far greater interest because its original surfaces remain intact. This demonstrates why preservation is just as important as rarity in determining long-term collectible appeal. Occasionally, manufacturing equipment develops tiny imperfections that leave unexpected marks on newly struck coins. These may include small die cracks, slightly off-center strikes, missing design elements, or other unusual production characteristics. Most are minor and add little value, while a small number become well-known among specialists because they are uncommon and well-documented. Collectors study these varieties carefully, comparing them with authenticated examples before reaching any conclusions. Genuine mint errors are identified through careful examination rather than wishful thinking, making patience and knowledge essential parts of successful collecting. One misunderstanding frequently repeated is that a dirty or heavily worn quarter must be valuable simply because it looks old. In reality, dirt, corrosion, environmental damage, or heavy wear rarely increase collectible value. Serious collectors usually prefer coins that retain their original surfaces without harsh cleaning or damage. A naturally aged coin showing honest circulation can still be desirable if it is genuinely scarce, but heavy deterioration alone does not transform an ordinary coin into a treasure. Understanding this distinction helps collectors focus on historical importance, rarity, and preservation instead of appearance alone. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, has played an important role in American coinage for more than a century. Established to serve the growing western United States, it has produced billions of coins for circulation. Because production numbers are often very high, most Denver quarters remain common. However, every mint occasionally produces coins with characteristics that later become subjects of specialized research. This is why collectors examine even common dates carefully, knowing that unusual examples sometimes emerge from the enormous quantities produced each year. The artistry of the Washington Quarter deserves attention as well. John Flanagan's portrait of George Washington has become one of the most familiar images in American numismatic history. His design balances simplicity with dignity, presenting the nation's first president in a timeless style that has remained recognizable for generations. Around the portrait appear inscriptions expressing national identity and shared values. Together with the state-specific reverse designs introduced decades later, the quarter became both a practical form of currency and a miniature canvas, celebrating American history, geography, and culture. The New Hampshire reverse carries special emotional meaning because it preserves the memory of the old man of the mountain after its collapse. Today, younger generations know the famous rock formation largely through photographs, artwork, and the state quarter itself. Every surviving coin acts as a reminder of a natural landmark that stood for centuries before disappearing unexpectedly. Few circulating coins capture such a direct connection between history and memory, making the New Hampshire Quarter one of the most meaningful designs in the entire State Quarters series. Stories of spectacular auction results often inspire new collectors, but they also require careful understanding. Coins that achieve extraordinary prices usually combine several exceptional qualities at once. They may be among the finest known examples, possess documented minting errors, or represent historically significant issues with extremely limited survival. These remarkable sales reflect decades of collector demand and expert authentication rather than simple age or appearance. For this reason, responsible collectors rely on careful research and professional evaluation before assuming a coin is unusually valuable. Perhaps the greatest lesson offered by the Washington Quarter is that every coin tells a story extending far beyond its face value. Whether worth 25 cents or considerably more to a collector, each example carries the legacy of the artists who designed it, the workers who produced it, the history it commemorates, and the countless people whose hands it has passed through over the years. That enduring connection between everyday life and national history is what continues to make American coin collecting one of the world's most fascinating hobbies. In the next part of our journey, we will explore some of the most famous, authenticated Washington Quarter varieties, remarkable collecting discoveries, and the enduring appeal that keeps millions of people searching their pocket change with hope and curiosity. There is something almost magical about the moment a collector examines a coin under bright light for the very first time. What looked like an ordinary quarter only seconds earlier suddenly reveals tiny details that had gone unnoticed for years. Every line in George Washington's portrait, every letter in the inscriptions, every ridge around the edge, and every feature of the old man of the mountain begins telling a story. That is the moment many collectors discover that the true treasure is not only the possibility of finding a rare coin, but also the excitement of understanding the history hidden inside a piece of metal that millions of people overlook every day. The Washington Quarter has witnessed nearly a century of American history. Since its introduction in 1932, it has traveled through wars, economic booms, technological revolutions, and generations of families. Children have received it as allowance, travelers have carried it across the country, and collectors have carefully preserved remarkable examples for future generations. Few objects remain in everyday use while also serving as historical artifacts, yet the quarter has managed to do exactly that. Every date represents another chapter in the continuing story of the United States, making even common coins meaningful reminders of the past. Among the most exciting discoveries are genuine mint errors. These are not coins that became unusual because they were damaged after leaving the mint, but coins that acquired distinctive characteristics during production. Examples can include dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, or missing clad layer errors. Such coins are uncommon because modern minting technology is designed to detect problems quickly, preventing large numbers of mistakes from entering circulation. When authentic examples do appear, they often become fascinating pieces for collectors because each error represents a rare moment when the manufacturing process briefly produced something unexpected. Collectors also understand the importance of patience. Many beginners expect to discover an extraordinary rarity within days of starting the hobby, but experienced numismatists know that building knowledge is far more valuable than relying on luck alone. They study mint marks, compare design details, learn about grading standards, and examine thousands of ordinary coins before occasionally finding something unusual. That patient approach transforms coin collecting into a lifelong journey of learning rather than a search for instant wealth. Every coin examined increases experience, even when it turns out to be completely ordinary. One of the reasons the New Hampshire Quarter remains memorable is that it preserves a symbol that nature itself could no longer protect. After the collapse of the Old Man of the Mountain in 2003, the state lost one of its most recognizable landmarks. Yet millions of quarters continued circulating with the famous granite profile still perfectly visible. In that sense, the coin became more than currency. It became a permanent reminder of a landmark that future generations would know only through photographs, artwork, and the designs engraved on American coinage. Few circulating coins carry such an emotional connection between natural history and national memory. As collectors continue searching through rolls of quarters and inherited collections, the greatest reward often comes from the stories behind the coins rather than their price. Every genuine rarity has earned its reputation through documented history, careful authentication, and years of collector interest. Whether a quarter remains worth only its face value or becomes a prized collectible, it still represents a small but enduring piece of American history, one that has traveled through countless hands while silently preserving the legacy of the people, places, and ideals it was created to honor. Thanks for watching the video, and please subscribe to my channel.